What's going on, AlchemyPhyt family? It is coach and co-founder Madison here. We've also got James. As you can see, we're kind of in a different location. This is Sir James's, what'd you say, just fortress of solitude, I guess you could say. It's his home gym, so he's got all these fun, fancy little gadgets. Shout out to, Nike Strength. Got some nice dumbbells over there. We got some nice plates over here. But basically, we're going to be making this video to show you guys how to deadlift. So basically a deadlift 101. I know we've talked about it a few times on the podcast of, James hiring a deadlifting coach. Surprise, surprise, it was me. Because deadlifting is something I have done for many years. It is something that my brother trained me in for about 5 years. And it is one of my all-time favorite movements. Yes, it is a compound movement, which means it involves more than one muscle group, and it is a very high-risk, high-reward exercise, which I personally enjoy because basically, if you learn how to do it right, you're going to have so much fun with it. And so now teaching James to do the same. And so what we're going to be going over today is just basically step-by-step, like I said, deadlift 101. So we're going to be starting first. I always want to make sure anybody who's about to deadlift that you have eaten properly, whether that is, a full meal 2 hours before, hour and a half, whatever it is. But going into the gym to deadlift on an empty stomach, on just a protein shake or a bar is just not enough. This is like we said, full body movement. It's going to require every single ounce that you have in you to be able to do this movement. And I can speak from personal experience because I have done deadlifting fasted, I've done it sunburned, I have done it dehydrated, I've done it, either too full. So anything you can imagine that you can do wrong deadlifting, I have done. I have also sprained my back 3 times deadlifting. So I feel like I'm the perfect candidate to know how and what not to do. So always want to start by eating right first. Make sure you set up your meal. You want to have high protein. You can do high carb too, because the carb is going to be your energy source. You want to make sure you have enough in your reserves to burn off. And then second, want to make sure we're warming up properly. Like we said, this is a very high risk, high reward movement. You want to make sure you're doing at least 10 to 20 minutes of cardio beforehand. I will do 10 minutes on the bike, on the elliptical, on the treadmill, Stairmaster, whatever, just to get my legs a little bit warmed up. James, as he has already said, he has done 10 minutes on his bike, so he's good up, ready to go. Step 3, we want to make sure that we are stretching properly. This is a movement that is not all about the legs. It's not all about your posterior chain. It's not all about your hips. It's going to also have your abs. It's going to have your lats, your shoulders, your chest. Like, it's going to involve every ounce of your body. So we want to make sure that we are stretching every part of our body. And so a lot of times what I've taught James to do is a lot of hip exercises. So I'm going to have him show some of the movements that we've done for a bit. And so right now he's doing what I call hip openers. So he's going to be making sure that he's going properly side to side, holding for about 2 seconds to really stretch that hip flexor, which is going to be kind of that muscle you feel when it gets a little bit closer to the inside of your thigh, your hip, and your groin. We want to make sure that we're stretching that because you're going to be pulling a full ounce, like 45-pound barbell. We want to make sure that we are lifting that properly and having every aspect of it stretched out, ready to go. Another pro tip, if you will, always deadlift with either socks or no shoes at all. That's how I do it. I don't do any shoes because my brother taught me that, because you want to make sure that you are properly gripping your feet onto the floor to provide a good solid foundation for a deadlift, because you don't want to be rocking a lot. You don't want to be providing like a whole lot of movement. We don't want to rock the boat here. You know what I'm saying? And so then now James is going to be doing another one, which is basically a hip up to a lunge. So he's going to go to the side, pull up from his hips, and do a nice stretch again for the hip flexor. We're going to be emphasizing this movement a lot, and it takes a lot of time and practice, but we want to make sure that we're hitting it correctly because, like we said, it's going to be a lot of pull of the hip movement. And I know, especially when James first tried this, he was not having fun with it. And so what did we think the first time we did this movement?
Painful. Well, a lot of burning, a lot of painful. I found out that my hip flexors were not anywhere near what they could be in terms of flexibility, mobility, etc. But they're getting there.
And that's all it takes. It's a lot of just little hip movements, and then you also want to make sure you're hitting upper body as well. And so we have Charlotte also in here. So she's going to be making sure, you know, she's supervising, making sure nobody gets hurt. But you also want to make sure you're doing other banded work. So you want to make sure that you're stretching out your lats. I personally do a lot of just like hangs. So I'll just do this for a while and I'll just kind of let my arm hang there. Really open up kind of like that lat area in your back because you want to make sure that you're bracing and prepared enough to be doing a deadlift. And so while I'm giving you guys this instruction, I'm also going to be doing my own warm-ups because I'm going to be deadlifting too. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So you want to make sure that you're loosening up every part of your body because we don't want anyone to clam up. That's going to be really bad. And so another one that I like to do is, of course, leg swings. So you want to make sure you're just going nice and easy, just going forward and backwards. You can go forward and backwards, and then I usually do about 10 swings a side. And then, of course, you want to go side to side because then you open up, once again, the hip flexor. You might be saying, why are you emphasizing the hip flexor so much? Like, stop talking about it. But it's super important because it's where you're going to brace from going down to that squat with the bar to building back up. You're going to use your hip flexor to bring your legs back up, engage those glutes, get the hamstrings fired up. So we want to make sure that we're, warming them up properly. And I have pulled my hip flexor far too many times, whether it be sports or lifting or etc. But we want to make sure that we're properly warmed up. And then, of course, another one, kind of like how you guys saw Coach James doing at the beginning, a nice butterfly stretch, which means you're just going to sit down, set you right here. Means we're just going to sit down. Hi, Charlotte. You're just going to do a nice one. Again, open up the hips. So I like to start standing up at first, kind of give your back a break, kind of let your spine decompress, kind of relax. And then as you start to settle in for at least 30 to 60 seconds, you want to start inching closer and closer to the ground because it's going to, again, you're going to feel that burn right at the hip flexor area. You want to make sure that we get so close, and most of the time I'll get it to where my elbows are like fully on the ground because then my back is stretched out and I'm feeling good to go. Like I said, you want to make sure that you have everything else loosened up too. So you can hit, some side stretches, making sure that you're getting your legs feeling like we got some blood flow in there. Really, you can mix it up however you want. Just make sure you're incorporating what's best for your body, what's best for the movement, and what's going to help prevent injuries. That's my top 3 things when it comes to stretching. And so now that we've stretched, the next step is, what is this? Step 4, 5? I think it's 5.
We do the banded stuff?
Step 5. Well, I told him we will do the banded stuff. And so another banded movement you can do, which is going to help warm up the glutes, because again, this is a full body movement, so we're going to fire up the glutes too. You're going to get a band. With said band, once again, I'll set you right there. We're hanging out. I always go right around the ankles, and we want to hit either a side step to kind of warm up. It's going to fire up this glute in particular, and I usually do like 10 each side and just nice toe taps. You want to make sure your foot's hovering. You don't want to place that heel fully on the ground. You want to anchor in that right side if you're going on your left. And then after that, I do some angled kickbacks. So you see how I'm not going fully all the way back? I'm going at an angle because when you stop, this side shelf of your glute is going to be on fire. And that's what you want to make sure we're hitting whenever we're going to be applying the deadlift. And so like I said, I do about 1 to 2 sets of 10. Really depends on if I'm feeling a lot more locked up that day, or if it's cold outside and I have like joints and arthritis flare-ups, things like that. But other than that, yeah, usually about 2 sets of 10 is really going to get it done. And then now we can go to the bar, which is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, as in barbell. So there are 2 main stances you can do when it comes to a deadlift. One is conventional, which is legs together, and then we do sumo, legs are apart. We're going to be showing you guys both stances because I have a preference over mine. I'm more conventional when it comes to deadlift, and James has been more sumo as of late. But it also just kind of depends in the season of training that you're in. I know we've talked about it. We're going to do 6 to 8 weeks of training, and so you can kind of switch it up. Like I've been doing conventional pretty solid for the past just 2 years, just straight conventional. I don't bring up sumo, anything like that. But now in my new program, since training James, I am now going to start to do sumo myself while he goes into a bit more conventional. So we'll show you both, kind of break it down, and then we'll get this thing rolling and show you what it means to have it all full circle. All right, let's get you set up. I don't want you falling. There's a lot of things we got to pay attention to. All right. Almost got it.
We forgot the fancy tripod over at the.
We did. We did.
So we were like, we just got really busy.
Yeah. All right. Now that we're all stretched out and warmed up, I'm going to go first. So I'm going to be starting out with conventional because that's my jam. Also, what is a big important thing to remember when deadlifting is everybody is different. We've got different genetics, we've got different goals, we've got different body types. That's all fine. So a lot of times you want to know what deadlift is best for you. And so for me, I have very long legs. As you can see, I am 5'9". So I have a short torso, very long legs, very long tibias, which is that shin bone right there. So for a lot of things, it's easier for me to do them in a wider stance. But I also have a hypermobile kneecap, which means I have had 5 knee dislocations in my life since I was about 8. So I also have to be careful I'm not overstretching my patella tendons, ACL, PCL, meniscus, all that good stuff. So for deadlifts, I particularly go conventional just because it makes my knee feel safer. And then squats, I do more of a wider stance. But we're going to be going over conventional, which just means feet are going to be closer together. Then you're going to have the bar, and you're going to have your grip to be the outside of your feet. And so for conventional, I'm going to have my grip, and you can depend. Everybody has a different grip. I go alternating, which means my left hand goes under the bar, my right hand goes over. Some people do both overhand, some people do both underhand, some people can switch it up. That's just the grip I like to do because 1, I have nails, 2, I have nerve damage, and 3, it just works better for me. And so setting up, I always do a couple warm-up sets. Like we said, this should take the most time of your workout that day. This should be the main focus of that day if we're doing deadlifts. And so if we're going to start with that first one, I'm going to alternate my grip. I'm also going to extend my legs fully because it's going to give me a nice stretch in my calves, hamstrings, and glutes. And then as I get down to do a practice rep, get down in that squat, have my hips down, lean my weight back in my heels, use my glutes and hamstrings to lift me back up. And you want to extend those hips outwards and squeeze the glutes at the top. Then coming back down, and you can see as I have no shoes on, I'm gripping this floor for dear life because you want to make sure you have a solid foundation. So then bringing it back down, you want to keep that bar as close to the shin bone as you can. I mean, I really don't want you to take the skin off. I've done it before, but you want it to be as close as you can so that your hips stay anchored. So you want to come right back up. Going again. You want to make sure you're practicing your breathing as well because it should be a nice, easy movement. Nothing should be over strenuous right now. It should be a nice, easy grip. You should have the mind to muscle connection to feel it. Okay, we're going quads, hips, knees, going back up through the heels, hamstrings, and quads. So that one's going to be more for conventional. And usually when I warm up, I do about 10 to 15 reps, just the bar, just to get myself warmed up. And then I start adding increments of 10. So then I'll add a 10-pound, do that for about 5 reps, add a 20-pound, do that for about 5 reps. And then as I get closer to my working weight, like if I'm working up to 235, then I just keep going less and less to where by the time I'm ready for that 235, I'm good to go. My legs know what we're doing. My mind to muscle connection's there. We're hitting it. But like I said, you want to warm up gradually. You want to take away some of the reps because you don't want to gas yourself either. And so we'll work our way up, start doing some working sets. And so I'm going to let James now warm up because he's the one who's doing this actual workout. I'm the trainer here, but I also do a lot of demonstrations so you can tell the difference between how it looks on a female, how's the difference between female and male, difference in genetics because I have very long legs and longer tibias. He has shorter tibias than I do. So he's going to have more of a different way of showing it. And he's fully barefoot right now. So you'll also be able to see how his feet grip it as well. So now I'm going to let James do the warm up.
I've done it with shoes, socks, and I must say that bare feet is the most comfortable for me. Cheers. All right.
Why don't you tell him what it is?
From Pro Mix, it's a salted raspberry. It's I put it in coconut water.
Salted raspberry what?
Electrolytes.
Oh, okay, very nice. Great base.
Oh yeah.
So why don't you tell them a little bit of how, because I know how I warm up and I've been telling them from doing it, but you being more of like kind of a novice when it comes to deadlifting, how do you approach your warm-up sets?
My warm-up sets I approach just like I do any other set. I take them seriously. I always start with bar naked. There's no weights to it. I just start off that way. It was something with any barbell. I don't know about you, but I just any barbell workout.
Oh yeah, to warm up, yes.
Oh yeah. So I've been practicing the rollout method with the reverse grip that Madison taught me.
And we'll get to that when we put some weight on.
So get up to the floor, make sure my feet shoulder width apart, hinge down, grab it, roll it out. I just roll it out a few times.
So it can help stretch the back of the hips as well as your spine, your lower back, get your hamstrings loose. Because like I said, we want you to take your time with the movement. You want to get comfortable with the bar, especially if you haven't been proficient in doing it before, because I know I am very more pro barbell.
Yeah, big time.
And so it just takes some time to get used to it. But see how his hands are outside of his legs? So you want to make sure that that grip is nice and easy. He's making sure his hips come all the way down, exploding up. You want to make sure he's getting down into that squat when you set the bar down. You don't want to set it down without that squat because then it's going to put strain on your lower back as well as your hips. Squat down. Yeah, that's a deadlift. Yeah. See, just taking our time, letting yourself get more comfortable with the movement. But see, and you can tell what he kind of does is when he brings the bar down, he tends to do this. That over time will put a lot of pressure on the lower back. So you want to make sure when you have that bar, put your feet as close together as you can, feet on the outside, but always come down to a squat. So come up, set that bar down, boom, right here. Because if you start getting the habit of doing this, all it's going to do is provide more strain and pressure on the lower back as well as on the back of the hamstring. So you always want to make sure you set it down because that's what you're going to do when you have the weight. So I always emphasize practice your warm-up sets like you have 200 pounds on that bar because you want to make sure you're having the exact same warm-up, the same cadence, the same choreography every time. All right, let's put some weight on.
All right. We got the Nike grind plates that I have for...
Look how pretty they are. That's recycled materials, boy. All right, now touching more on the rollout method, this is something my brother, shout out Carlos, he taught me because a championship power lifter did his this way. And this is how he was able to lift a whole lot more weight. And for me, like I said, I have very long legs. I have sprained my back 3 times doing this. And so for me, it was always a challenge to get my hips low, to get them all the way down to depth. And so my brother thought the rolling method would be good for me because it allowed me to extend. We're going to roll out the bar, hence rollout method. And as I roll back in, I'm immediately setting up for a working rep, getting my hips down to explode up. And then I bring the bar back down. You want to extend, and it also allows me to get a good stretch in between, take my time, get a good breather, come back in, get ready, coming up. So each one, and it allows me to take my time because with deadlift, you want to take your time. That's why it is more consuming of your entire workout. But you always want to make sure that you're breathing. And so just nice and easy, hips back down, explode up, coming back down, holding that bar as close as I can to my shins. That's the rolling method. Now, we'll let James warm up.
So that's why I hired her, is because when I was hinging down, I'm a hinger. I really am. I'm a hinger. I can squat too, but I prefer hinging. So I naturally was putting down the bar hinging wise. That's why I hired her, because now I know, all right, well, I don't want to put any more strain on my lower back because I'm thinking in game, long game. So squat down would work well. Definitely.
Yeah, squat, yeah.
So, all right, I prefer, now that we got the warm up out of the way, when I got weight on here, this is what I do. It's more of a natural movement. The
For you, yes.
Oh, yeah. For me, the rollout method is more comfortable. It's what I want to do.
Yeah, and like we said, it's just nice because it allows you to take more of your time with the movement and get set, going up. Yep, you feel the difference. Because now you have to control that bar. You control the weight on the way up, on the way down. And like we said, you can really see he needs to grip that floor with everything that he has. Wants to make sure pushing through the heels on the way up. And you take your time and you see how he's focusing on his breathing. That's exactly what we want you guys to do. Very nice. And see, it's all a swift movement. And yes, you want it to become more explosive the higher you go in terms of your weight. But like we said, this is just warm-up sets. We want to make sure that we're controlling the movement first, because what coaches always told me being in sports my whole life, they always said, you control weight, don't let the weight control you. So that's all that this is going to mainly be about. And so now we're going to switch up to some working sets. To our working set. So now I've just redone James's program. We were doing about, was it 3 to 4 weeks of really just getting comfortable with the movement, figuring out if he was into more of a sumo stance or a conventional stance. And so now that he's time to mess with it, we're going to amp it up a little bit. So basically, we're going to be doing less sets, more reps. So that way he can get more used to the volume of it all versus the overall power. And so now we're going to be going a lot more for efficiency of the movement. And we've got Charlotte hiding somewhere in here. But all right, so now he's got 25 pounds in the bar. This is going to be nothing crazy just because he's working into this. We want to make sure that he's set up for success, not putting on 245s already or nothing like that. That's my way. But all right, let's get it started. So you're going to be hitting 8 to 10 reps of this movement. And so he's going to be doing conventional rolling method. So let's give it a whirl. You're good. Put the weight in the heels. Make sure we're not thinking too much beforehand. As soon as you roll that weight into your shins, go. Good. Pull it out, stretch the legs, back down. If you can, push your hips back more. Put that weight on the back of that heel and get down in that squat. Yeah, there we go. Can you feel the difference? Good. Nice, easy, control the movement, grip the feet. Make sure you always grip right before you explode up. Good, good. Yep, there you go. Dropping the hips. There you go. Get lower, get lower. There we go. Very nice. That's a great question. We'll call it done. We'll call it done. I don't know if you guys have ever been trainers or anything before, but that was always like my biggest thing with training is if I'm giving social cues and stuff like that, I always forget what rep we're on.
Yeah, me too.
But we'll call that our first set. So yeah, that one's going to be kind of an amped version of what you've been doing. So how do you feel that that set was versus when we first started about a month ago?
A lot better. Definitely more fluid. Way more comfortable with just the overall motion.
Yeah.
Compared to last month.
Good.
She mentioned volume. She beat Madison about volume. That's what I would want, is volume. Even though the past few days I've been wanting to know how strong I could get with my legs. Because that's where all my muscles at. It's my legs, backside, hamstrings, being a runner and all that. And just my genetics. She has long tibias. I got the legs of a running back. So I'm gonna use that to my advantage as best as I can.
Especially as him, like you said, him being a runner, we want to make sure that we're setting up for success. He does a lot of races. He wants to be in first place. He wants to do the best that he can. And so this is a huge help. I did these a lot before he and I would do Spartan Decker races. And I feel like they help me a lot just because I'm very leg dominant. I've got big thighs. I've got a really good posterior chain and things like that. So when you train your body for your genetics, it really helps. But to me, I feel like anybody can do a deadlift. You just have to know what type, what grip, and what goal you want. And so he's going to do a couple more working sets, and then we're going to go ahead and switch over to sumo. And so we'll check back in, we hit sumo. All right, so James just got done doing all of his working sets when it comes to the conventional method. So now we're going to dip into a little bit of the sumo stance method. So sumo, if you've done anything, what it just means is wider stance. And so like if we're doing deadlift, I'm going to have, this is what I'm currently doing in my own program right now. So you're going to have your feet pretty wide, and you also want to make sure your feet and your toes are pointed out, because like I said, you want to be able to grip that floor as hard as you can. And so like for me, and everybody's different, but I have very long legs. So I got to kind of get out there, you know, kind of move my legs a little bit more. And I still do a rolling method when it comes to my sumo deadlifts. You can do regular pull-up method, which is just going to be going from the ground up to a set. But I'm always going to roll mine out because I have long legs. And so for this one, the grip is, again, for me, my preference, going to be under, over, alternating grip. You can do, like I said, both over or both under, whichever works for you. So if we're going to roll it out, I'm pushing that weight out, and I'm making my legs stay straight because mine, it's going to stretch a whole lot more. And like we said, just like conventional, I'm going to roll that back in, get into my working set, which is going to be my hands and my grip are going to be inside my legs this time. And I'm also, and like I said, you can adjust your stance and everything as you get more comfortable, but I'm putting the weight in my heels, my hips are pushed out, my knees are pushed out, and I'm going to be going from the glute up, going back down in that squat, boom, rolling back out, come back in, set up, hips down, explode up. Holding that bar right there on my hip bones. Going back down, it's nice and slow, controlled. Going back out, coming back in, right to the shin, explode up. Going down nice and slow on that shin bone. Keeping that chest nice and proud because you want to make sure that you are making it easier on your spine and working your glutes. Mine are on fire right now, but that's just because I had a leg day yesterday. But this is how I like to do mine. They're nice and easy. You get really comfortable with them. And so now that we've seen mine, somebody with long tibias and a female, we're going to take a look at James. So now we got Coach James doing a bit of a warm-up set, and we've got our assistant Charlotte. Isn't she so cute? We got her being like, go, go, go. And so now he's going to do sumo. So we'll have a little bit of a different stance than I will, but overall, same movement. See, he's got his hands gripped in between his legs this time, got his toes pointing outward, gripping his feet, pushing the weight through his heels, nice proud chest. Want to make sure you're pushing your hips all the way through the top of that movement. There we go. Squeezing the glutes at the top, nice and controlled down. Working on his breathing. So how do you feel conventional versus sumo now?
I definitely feel with sumo that I can lift. It's easier. It's easier for my legs. My abductors coming up way more into effect. Glutes are obviously firing. Less pressure off my back, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I prefer it. So we're going to stick with that for the time being.
And let's see how he progresses. Guys, so you've seen us do both. We have done conventional, we have done sumo. And so like we said, it's always going to be a different preference when it comes to a person's comfortability with a barbell, to the stance of their genetics, to their goals. And so this was our main one. Like we said, we always want to go by simple steps at a time. Eat properly beforehand. Do proper cardio warm-up. Do proper active and static stretching. Get in your warm-up sets. Work up to your working weight and decide which stance and grip is right for you. And then hit it with progressive overload, which means going from 6 to 8 weeks in a program, going up to 2.5 to 5 pounds each week. And so that's how he's going to be doing it. And I know he's going to be documenting his progress when it comes to deadlifting because, like I said, this is his first time really getting into it. And I'll have videos for you guys of me deadlifting. That's not true. Don't ever believe him. But so that was our deadlifting 101. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to, of course, like, subscribe, give us comments if you've done deadlifting, what your experience is with it, and what other videos you guys would like to see from us when it comes to working out. But as always, treat your body with intention. It's the most permanent place you'll ever live. And we'll catch you guys later.